Hello, this is Tony DeMaria, the editor of JACC, and I'm doing another one of my genuine article features for CVN. And what I'd like to talk to you about today is a very interesting paper we published in our most recent issue that addresses the question of the safety of driving in patients with cardiac arrhythmias. Now, this is an issue for all of us on almost a daily basis. We have patients who are at risk for serious arrhythmias, and the question is, how safe are they to be behind the wheel of an automobile? And one of the ways to answer that question came from monitoring patients with ICDs, cardiac defibrillators. And in fact, the study we published in JACC is called the TOVA study, the Triggers of Ventricular Arrhythmias in Association with Driving. And this was a multi-center study. There were actually 31 centers involved with this. And because there were so many centers, they were able to gather data on over 1,000 patients in whom ICDs had been placed. And they took extensive driving histories from these patients to determine how frequently they drove, what percentage of the day was spent behind the wheel of a car. And specifically, of course, what they did was they tracked these patients over a period of just under 2 years and were specifically interested in what the patients were doing just prior to any ICD firing. And there were, of course, a large number, over 400 firings, of which about 200 could be traced specifically to serious ventricular arrhythmias, ventricular tachycardia, or ventricular fibrillation. And so the question then in the TOVA study was whether or not these VT-VF firings were related to driving an automobile. And there's reason to believe that it should be, of course. Driving is stressful. Here in San Diego, driving can be harrowing. That's true of many large cities. And there are multiple pollutants in the air and whatnot. So it's an arrhythmogenic environment. Well, the findings of this study were really very interesting. In fact, the risk of having an ICD firing due to VT or ventricular fibrillation was about twice as great in the period after driving a car, not in the period of driving a car. So for the first 30 minutes or the first hour or so, patients with ICDs were at about twice the risk of having a VT or VF episode, but the overall absolute incidence of episodes was really quite small, 1 in 25,000. Of even greater significance was the fact that VT-VF episodes provoked firings in only 7 patients when they were actually driving their car. Really not statistically significantly different from what would be expected from a non-at-risk population. So the bottom line here is very, very reassuring. In patients at the highest risk of serious ventricular arrhythmias, driving appears to be a very safe activity, and at the moment these data strongly support the existing guidelines that patients with ICDs be allowed to resume driving as soon as their ICD implantation is fully healed. Thanks very much for being with us, and I look forward to presenting another genuine article to you in the near future.